This is why you don't trust the socialists when they say, everything's free, vote for me. New Yorkers are finding out. They got duped.
I'm Assemblyman Zahran Mamdani, and I'm running for mayor to freeze the rent for every rent-stabilized tenant.
Wait, you're gonna freeze my rent?
Yes.
24 hours later.
If we do not fix this structural imbalance, and if we do not go down the first path, the city will be forced down a second, more harmful path. Faced with no other choice, the city would have to exercise the only revenue lever fully within our own control. We would have to raise property taxes.
I was looking for an F to give.
When Mamdani ran for mayor, he spoke directly to the struggling New Yorkers. He said the city had become too expensive and that regular people were being pushed out. He suggested that the wealthy needed to pay more, and people believed him. Now we're hearing of a possible 9.5 property tax increase if the state doesn't raise taxes on the rich. Mamdani says that this is his last resort. But let's be realistic. Who does this really affect the most? Because often, when property taxes are increased, the landlords increase the rent. And this has to affect the regular people. Tell me how this screams affordability. It seems to be getting expensive, and this doesn't look so good for Mamdani.
The mayor, with the greatest respect, in every campaign speech, in every debate where you engage, we opened our ears to listen. Now today, accept the words echoing from us now. Do your job as mayor and leave our taxes out.
Giving only two options. You're saying if we don't tax the rich, then I got to increase property taxes. We are not a pawn in Southeast Queens. We are not part of your negotiation tactics. Zahran Mamdani, you are out your goddamn mind.
I told you this would happen. No, he's going to tax the rich, and you're taking his message out of context. Really, he just came on and said that if option A doesn't work because there's laws that prohibit him from doing that, then we're going to have to do option B. Option B is the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario. Whatever starts off as a tax the rich tax always finds its way down to everyone else.
Let me assure you, nothing about this is typical. That's why our solutions won't be either. There are two paths to bridge this gap. The first is the most sustainable and the fairest path, and raising taxes on the richest New Yorkers and the most profitable corporations. This crisis will not disappear. It will simply return, year after year, forcing harder and harsher choices each time. And if we do not go down the first path, the city will be forced down a second, more harmful path. Faced with no other choice, the city would have to exercise the only revenue lever fully within our own control. We would have to raise property.
New York, you got exactly what you voted for. And there's still going to be people, blue people, that are going to be like, no, that's only option B. Why is there even an option B if option A was so amazing? If option A is what he campaigned on. Option B was, no, we're free subways and free buses and free, everybody gets free. Because he ain't paying for it. You are. I cannot say this enough. I told you that there's going to be a budget that they're going to have to reach. And when that first option doesn't work, they're not going to remove the budget like, you know what, let's scratch this, let's start all over. No, that quota still has to be met, even if that means taxing the middle class.
Mayor Mamdani is destroying New York. And I say this with a smile because apparently people like AOC, Bernie Sanders, and all these other guys, they didn't give a fuck about you because they knew that you would be enslaved by Mayor Mamdani. And he started out with the whole, we're going to tax the rich. And guess who he's taxing now? He's taxing you. And he's taking all your money while your streets are riddled and infested with trash that's not even getting picked up. Oh, and guess what? The cool thing is, is just like Gavin Newsom, you guys are going to have a map for feces because, you know, there's so much feces all around. And guess what? He's even taking more money from you and having to increase taxes on everybody, by the way. Like, it's not just, oh, we're going to tax the rich and now we're going to tax the poor. It's like, well, we got to take that base tax and we got to lift that up so we can, you know, we're having a financial crisis. He did that within a couple months. Hey, by the way, he said, oh, we're gonna give free healthcare to everybody. So people are like, yeah, let's go to New York. They got free healthcare. This guy is ruining your life, by the way. You guys voted for him to ruin your life. Socialism doesn't work. For all the people who thought they were so intelligent enough to say, well, we should try socialism, for the liberal women out there that voted for this guy, you guys just literally screwed over your families, you screwed over your neighbors, you screwed over your friends, you literally screwed over all of Americans that live in New York. So congratulations and thank you for doing that, because now you proved once again throughout history, because it was a historical thing that it was proven socialism doesn't work. But guess what? Now you're going to get to find out what communism is. You're going to get to find out what a dictatorship is. You're going to get to figure out what it's like to have no rights, to have no privileges, to have everything that you've worked for taken from you without even being able to see it. You can forget about your paycheck because he's going to take all of it, and it's okay. Don't worry about it. You're not going to, the money's not going to just leave your hands. It's going to come out of your pay stub, your job, your work, everything. You don't have to worry about it, because guess what? All of your little American privileges have been taken away thanks to your little vote.
I'm sorry, but Zoran forcing Governor Hochul's hand on taxing the rich at just 2% by essentially being like, hey girl, noticed you're dragging your feet on that. Also noticed you have an election coming up. Not me, I'm good. You though? Is absolute genius. Basically, he's like, yeah, looking at the books that former disgraced mayor of Tel Aviv, Eric Adams, left us, there are holes that need to be filled. And that can either be by raising property taxes on working New Yorkers, I think up to like 9.5%, or raising taxes on the richest New Yorkers and corporations at 2%. And he's essentially like, me? And the people that voted for me? Oh, and the people that I guess are gonna vote for you, they don't want that first one. They really don't want that first one. So yeah, I know that you have like a really difficult decision to make between those two equally bad options, but good luck. Take your time. Not too much time though, because remember, got that election in November. And I'm definitely not saying that affordability is basically a proven strategy to mobilize those non-voters, convert the Republican voters, basically what delivered me this historic win. I'm not saying that. The people did, though. So who are you gonna listen to, Kathy? That's me asking now, not Zora. Your millions of voters or your handful of donors? Who's gonna deliver you that re-election, Kathy? You've been playing it safe. Now it's time to play it smart.
Zoran is playing a little bit of hardball in these budget negotiations with Kathy Hochul. He says that if we're not able to raise taxes on the uber wealthy, that he may have to resort to increasing property taxes by 9.5%. And this is a move that would affect not only residential units, but also some of the commercial property.
As somebody that has really tried to be optimistic about Zoran Mamdani, this is the first real sign of trouble.
However, in order to get to this point of closing the gap on both this fiscal year and the next fiscal year, we are forced to raid the rainy day fund, the retiree health benefits trust reserve, and to increase property taxes across these other years.
What Zoran is talking about here is that unlike the federal government, which is allowed to run giant deficits, New York City actually has to balance its budget. And long story short, for the preliminary upcoming budget, New York City is facing a 2-year gap of $5.4 billion. Now, previously, Zoran has said that he would like to pay for this by increasing the taxes on corporations and wealthy people, but that is not a decision that New York City can make. Those increases can only come from the state government. State government is saying they don't want to do that, and so Zoran Mamdani is threatening the largest property tax increase that New York has seen in a very long time. Now, frankly, I'm not sure that tax cuts in general are the direction to go. New York City spends a ton of money, and one of the things they spend a lot of money on is public schools. But for many years now, they have been losing students. Enrollment is going down. Now, enrollment did actually tick up slightly recently, but overall, for the last several years, enrollment is down substantially. But despite it going down, over that same period, spending has increased. Now, part of that is the result of new class size caps that are being pushed by the state government. But I do still think that there are significant spending cuts that could be made. Per student spending in New York City is actually quite high compared to the rest of the nation, but if we're being honest, they just don't have very good outcomes. But then, completely unrelated, Zoran was able to get through 6 appointees to New York City's housing board, which likely means that there will be pretty significant new rent control coming. This was one of Zoran's major promises, so there are no surprises that he's pushing for this, but I have always believed that rent control was one of his worst ideas. I believe that this will lead to worse maintenance of existing units and less new units being built. Now, in terms of building, some of that could be offset if Kathy Hochul is able to get through her reforms to New York's Environmental Quality Review Act. This would exempt a lot of housing in the state from having to go through the incredibly cumbersome environmental reviews. And I give Zoran credit for this, he has been a proponent of this agenda. I am still not a fan of rent control though, I just don't think it's a good policy. But going back to the budget, Zoran has made it clear property tax increases are not the direction that he wants to go. His whole thing is affordability. He recognizes that making it more expensive for people that own homes is kind of a contradiction of that. But he also always knew that these tax hikes on the rich that he wanted to push for were just not in his domain of control. Now, could Zoran successfully use the bully pulpit to get Kathy Hochul and New York State Legislature to do the increases he wants? Well, he does have a very real and very large base of support that I do believe he could mobilize in the right circumstances. All of that to say, this is Zoran's first real major test, his first real major controversy, and I am very interested to see if he is able to rise to the occasion.
When they opened up that free grocery store in New York for those 5 days, it was a disaster. Check this out, y'all.
On Burnside, I live in the Bronx. I had to take the D train from Tremont over here every an hour just to get ready and everything.
I've seen a mix of things. Like security needs to work on their presentation, but dealing with the customers who are of Florida backgrounds, shall say, because they don't have the customer service expertise. And whatever training they have is no, that's not going to work.
It is not organized. It is not safe. That's the biggest thing with me.
I literally got here at 9 o'clock, the same time they told this young lady to get here. And basically what they said is that they ran out of tickets.
I even met a woman that came from India yesterday, and she was like, oh my God, I'm in line. I'm going to get on. I'm coming to get free food. I'm thinking, like, how should I get back on the plane with that?
I think it's very unorganized. They told me that they ran out of tickets. I couldn't get no more food. I couldn't get no pantry. I couldn't get access to the store.
And skincare, soap, food. I could get a bunch of stuff for free. And now it's just like, what are you doing?
People, you telling me somebody flew from India, went to the grocery store just to take some items to go back, to put on a plane to go back to India? Wow, that's crazy, unbelievable. But yeah, they were forcing people off the sidewalks because they had to reopen. Hundreds of people didn't even get to enter the store. And then they have this 10% tax increase coming on the way, right? New Yorkers, they're going to really feel it. I'm praying for all the Black Americans specifically. I hope y'all survive this storm, man, to the 200 of y'all that's left in New York City. But yeah, it's crazy out there. And Mamdani duped all the New Yorkers talking about this is free stuff isn't so free. It's expensive. A 10% tax increase. Yeah, y'all going to feel it.
At the heart of this path is a property tax increase. This would effectively be a tax on working and middle-class New Yorkers who have a median income of $122,000. The second path also requires us to raid our reserves. It would mean withdrawing $980 million from our city's rainy day fund in fiscal year 2026 and $229 million from the Retiree Health Benefit Trust in fiscal year 2027.
Hey, yo, Zoran, you see a problem that you have. And I'm not talking about the tax hikes on the middle class. Like, we all know the game. It has nothing to do with that. It has to be about you and your authority. People are undermining your authority, Zoran. You got people in your camp. You know the saying, never outshine the master, right? That saying, never outshine the master. That's what's happening. You got somebody trying to outshine you. And now, publicly, this is what's happening. He's trying to outshine you in the background, right? But then it spills onto you, and you gotta go perform for him and doing all that. You see, you're moving a little too fast, Zoran, and that's because you're being undermined. That's why you're moving too fast, all right? So that that's undermining you, that's trying to outshine the master, you need to pull him in front of everybody and give him a public pow-pow, okay? You need to give him a public one so that they know that you mean business and you shall not be undermined. You in the big leagues now. You can't be making these rookie mistakes, all right? You're moving too fast because you're getting undermined. So that little twerp that's undermining you, and you know who he is. I peeped him, and you peeped him too. You gave him a little, but it need to be a little stronger. All right? You're close. All right? You're moving too reckless. All right? Get that handle and then holler back.
You know, the funny thing about New York City is that the reason why we have a deficit is it's a direct cause of our sanctuary city status, where we were funding illegal immigration to the tune of $9 billion. Eric Adams predicted this. He faced so much opposition from the city council and the progressives and the people like Zoran Mamdani, who were complaining that we weren't providing enough money to these illegal immigrants to take care of them with our tax dollars. And now, when this guy gets in office, after promising everyone a whole bunch of free stuff, he still continues to promise to provide that same funding to illegal immigrants while preventing ICE deportations. See, that's the funny thing about socialism. It requires no understanding of economics, only how to spend other people's money. And that's usually why you see the biggest proponents of socialism. They're privileged people. These are people they're people of means, and they're usually millionaires, like Bernie Sanders, like Zoran Mamdani, who is a trust fund baby. And these people, their job is to continue to use the useful idiots like the people who voted for them in order to carry out their agenda and maintain their privilege while making you comfortable in your poverty.
Taxing the rich is not some crazy leftist idea. It is a centrist, moderate position right now. Zoran is pulling up with the great electoral win that he had against Democratic establishment candidates, against the Republican Party, against the billionaire class, against the Epstein class. Zoran won, but he's facing this multi-billion-dollar deficit. And so he goes to the people and he spells it out as plain spoken as you can imagine.
$5.4 billion is still a very steep mountain to climb. And there are two paths that we can walk. One that offers long-term stability, and a second one with significant pain that we deeply hope to avoid. The first path repairs the structural imbalance between the city and the state. We want to work with Albany to raise personal income taxes by 2% on the 33,000 New Yorkers earning more than $1 million a year, and to raise corporate taxes on the most profitable corporations. And we know that for far too long, New Yorkers have given far more to the state than what we have received in return. It is time to end the drain. If we cannot follow this first path, we will be forced onto a much more damaging path of last resort.
I believe that Kathy Hochul understands what's happening here. And I believe that her political impulses are good. And I think that she knows that she has to partner with him to help this city and to put up a resistance against Trump and make a blueprint for all of the other Democratic states across the board. This is how we work together.